So welcome to the podcast. I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Of course.
The thing that I like to start with is tell me about your personal heavy metal history. So those bands and records that you remember that got you into the genre and how it evolved over the years to where you're at now.
Ah. It started with my father's a drummer, and he was in a band, of course. He wanted me to play guitar, but I want to drum. But he said, "It's way too noisy for this, so you're gonna play guitar." So okay, I did, and he brought me off with Sabbath and Zeppelin, the second Zeppelin album. So that way back, and the first concert I went to was in 1985, I think. Yeah, it was
Oh
Iron
wow.
Maiden. So that's he brought me up with hard rock metal from day one, and from there it evolved to from harder and harder and harder. Of course, after Maiden became Metallica, Anthrax, all the big ones, Megadeth, and that. After that, my nephew got into metal, and especially death metal as well. So he showed me the Scream Bloody Gore album, and I thought, what the fuck is that? It's
Yeah.
way too heavy. So I turned that away for a while, and after half a year, I tried it again, and then it makes sense to me. And after that, I was totally sold. I got
It's
a lot
funny
of
how
those
that
records.
happens. Like
It,
when you're just not quite ready for something yet, and then you give it
no,
time, and then you come back to it, and you're like, "Why did I put this off for so long? This is amazing."
yes, exactly. Yeah. I had the same with he showed me tape with Metallica on one side and was the Ride the Lightning album. The other
Ooh.
side was Raining Blood. I didn't turn it on. Only the A side. Only Metallica was more than enough for you. And Slayer sounded like total noise to me. Back then. And now for now, Slayer's my all-time favorite band, I think. But back then, it's you had to get used to it. Yeah.
So what was music discovery like for you? Like, was there tape trading going on?
Yes.
How were you discovering music from friends, family?
Totally tape trading, yeah. And yeah,
Oh,
what I said, my nephew, and we had so much tape trading going on at the time. So I had a band. I had two bands when I was 17, Ejaculate and Abscess, and I had the band mostly so I could trade my tapes with other
mhm.
bands. So and I traded a lot with Bob Bacchus, from Asphyx, the drummer.
Oh
he
wow.
was he was the best, the main tape trading guy in the Netherlands. Everybody traded with him, and I traded with him too. So there were a lot of tapes going on. I sold many of my shit, but not the tapes. I still have hundreds of them. It's so
Oh,
funny
that's
to see.
amazing.
That's my yeah. That's my pride. My tape trading. Yeah, what is it? Treasure. Yeah,
Yeah, I
it
feel like
is.
there's probably some like lost media out there that like bands that only ever like were in that tape trading scene and didn't really
Yeah,
put anything else out, and people just can't find it. It's gone, or it
it's
exists
done.
somewhere in tape, but
Yeah,
man, I
it
bet there's
is.
some gems.
Yeah, and I had a lot of letters. I saved most of the letters too, and
Oh,
and you can
nice.
see now, I wrote with that guy, and I wrote with that guy, and I wrote with the Grave guys, and you see them later on tour and so. Yes, I traded this with you. Yes, I remember you were in that band. So people still know what they did back then. That's funny to do to hear too. So that's
I
cool.
wish it was still a thing. Like, it
Yes,
kept the community really close, like
it
with
is.
music discovery, because we only had each other back then.
Yes,
Now because of the internet, it kind of takes away all that, like, people coming together to discover. It's just like, oh, I can just go on the internet and look, and there it is.
yeah, yeah, and just to watch one song or hear one song, and that's it. But then
Yeah.
you were waiting by the mailbox from what's coming today, and there
Yeah.
was coming something every week. Right? The more you trade, the more you get. So it was really nice. Yeah, yeah, I miss those trading times. It sounds like an old dude, but I am, and yeah, it was great. Yeah,
So
really.
you mentioned starting out as a drummer. When did you move over to guitar and learning how to play guitar?
Now, literally, when my mother say the drum still goes out, it was just too much noise, and we had an apartment back then, and so my father sold it for I think $1,000, pretty much
Wow.
money at the time, and they got me in a little Marshall, and I don't have it here anymore, and then a Fender Squire Bullet guitar, a red one, like
Oh, nice.
Hendrix. I still have it somewhere, but and then try this, And I didn't try it, of course, because I hated it at first. I want to be a drummer like my father, but yeah, later on they put me on guitar lessons, and then I started with all the classical shit, of course, and then
Okay.
I'm yeah, I got into it, and then I more and more and more, and later, and now I love it, of course. I still feel I'm born as a drummer, I think always in patterns, in beats, and when I write a song, that's the first thing I write. Also, it's always the beat. It starts with the tempo, and then I'm gonna add a riff to it. So a little bit of both, But yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna. That was a perfect segue. I was gonna ask about that with like having that knowledge of drumming and how you kind of compose the songs with that.
yeah,
We'll get to the songwriting stuff in a minute, but as far
yeah.
as like your guitar playing nowadays, do you still have like a practice regimen, or do you just kind of like you know what you can do on a guitar and like
Yeah,
you're kind of like satisfied with where you're at?
yeah, and I was fast satisfied. I never got into solo guitar playing, and so that's not
Mhm.
my thing. I'm really a rhythm guitar player, and
I feel you.
I
That's
yeah,
me too.
and it got me to a level that I thought, okay, I can play everything I can and want, and this is enough to make a good song. I'm more a songwriter than a solo writer.
Yeah.
So I always have to have good guitar players around me to make the band complete. And so I start always with rhythms, guitars, and drums, of course. Yeah,
Okay. Nice.
but yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
that's
practice anymore. I practice my own songs, and that not on
yeah.
technique. I'm too old for that shit. That's not. I'm not gonna learn the Steve Vai solos anymore. I see if I
Yeah.
see what Björn can do. I said, okay, that's nice, not for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like the same way with my technical ability. It's like I could probably sit down and like get better at it, but I just don't. It's just
Yeah,
not what I want to play, you know?
yeah,
I
I
appreciate the
understand it.
skill level of it and I love listening to it, but
Me too.
I don't want to play that. I
No,
can't do it.
me neither. Yeah, same here.
So this is a little bit of a cliche question here, but for people that maybe have not heard of your band, give us some backstory of like how you guys got together, when the band started, all that kind of stuff. I know it's it's cliche, but for people that may not know or checking this out,
Yeah, yeah,
I'd
yeah.
like them to get to know the band.
Yeah, we three of us go long way back. Jasper and Mark. I know them from just when they were 17, 18, I think, something like that. And we
Okay.
started with Xenomorph. We played a long time in Xenomorph, was also a death metal band, and but we just didn't know what to play. We sounded like every new band that's coming out. We were getting more extreme, which what it started as an old school death metal band, and in the end, we want to be like Live in Creation, Suffocation, Behemoth. All the
Hmm.
fast things. But every year we sounded different. It was just what's just the band who were hyped and were just good in that time. We sounded like that. So the Xenomorph never had an own face. Every demo, every song sounded like a different band.
Oh wow.
And yeah, we stopped with that because that was one of the problems, I think. And after that, I said, I'm not going to do that anymore. I just want to go back to old school, to a tempo I love, not blast beats, and just a non-blast beat band. And doing the Nilga Massacre, we did 2 albums with that.
Hmm.
And then I got some troubles with the singer, so we quit that band as well. And I took Jasper and Mark with me, and then we started Graceless. It was like 8 years ago, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
First record was 2016, right?
yeah, that's true. And I already wrote the record in or at least 10, 11 songs, and I tell them, so
Wow.
this is what I wanted to do. Are you in or out? And
Yeah.
they were in. So yes, we were going to do this too. So and that felt so good from the start on. And then we met Björn at Grass Pop in Belgium, and we
Okay.
hang out with him for 3 days, and we only talked about music and the bands and all kind of shit. And Mark already knew Björn, so I asked him, does he does play guitar? Yeah, he said yes. He's an amazing guitarist. Like he can do heavy metal solos, everything. And said, invite him, maybe he comes. And he did. And that's the story of Grace. It started like that, and it's been like that ever since. It's a great bunch of guys. You have no yeah yeah, we have a good chemistry. I think that good
Yeah.
chemistry and a good friendship. You're on the road a lot, and you are in the studio a lot, and we practice a lot. So then, yeah, you have to get along. For us, it's yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's the
important.
important part.
Yeah, and it wasn't always like that. This was the first time that we had a chemistry four people. Yeah, who just get along very well. With all different kind of guys. But. With a lot of respect for each other and for each other abilities, for each other, yeah, uh, yeah, for everything.
Yeah.
So we have a good team. That's what I want to say.
Yeah, you guys have had a solid lineup for the past,
Yeah.
almost 10 years. So that's a rare thing, man. There's always somebody
Yes.
that comes and goes.
Yeah, and that's yeah, I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
I always want to say I wouldn't do it with any other guys. You never know what happens in the future, but this is such a good group. I think you can hear that in our music and also in our live shows. We like to play with each other.
Yeah.
And that's more important than I thought it would be. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to ask you about. So I discovered the band probably in 2020,
Yeah.
yeah, second album. Okay. Yeah, so I don't know how much control you guys have over this, but I discovered you through Spotify. Spotify sends out like a recommended, hey, you listen to this, you should like this band kind of thing.
Yeah.
And every time I get those, I listen to everything on there, and
Yeah.
that's usually how I discover new music. Do you guys have like any input on that? Like, how does that work? Because that to me, that's so random. It's like, how would this band have like gotten into my feed if it wasn't for this weird
Yeah.
algorithm or like whatever you guys are doing or your record company? Like,
And we do,
it's crazy.
on Spotify, our previous record company, Rascal Records, did nothing. They don't believe in the digital, and we we're missing out if we don't do that.
Yeah.
So we asked them, can we do that themselves? They said, whatever you want, but we're not gonna provide it for you. So we made via distro kits or something, distro
Yeah.
something. We made an account and just put our songs up there. So that's all we did.
Wow.
Nothing more. And then we hope that it would go now to you or to whoever, and it did apparently. So it does work, but we did no extra things, no extra commercial or ads or nothing. No,
Man.
nothing like that. And I think with the new record labels, it's different because they took away our whole account and they are doing all the digital shit right now, and that's okay,
Yeah.
but yeah, they're really into it. So I think you have to nowadays.
Yeah, it's interesting because like I don't know this for a fact, but I've heard that there are bands that like pay money to get put on certain playlists on Spotify
Yes.
or
Yeah.
to have their account push or something, which there's nothing wrong with that. You got to get your shit out there. But, um, I don't know like how feasible that is, like, because there's so much music on there. Like, how do you know it's going to reach the right person? Or like,
Yeah. And
it's
which
crazy.
playlist are you coming on? I know that if you are on playlist with a lot of listeners, that's good. That's good for the band,
Yeah.
But how do you come on there? Maybe they have contracts with big playlists. I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
I
It's
heard
strange.
about it, but I never figured out how that works. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a buddy who's like got a bunch of music and he's always like trying to get on playlists. And I'm like, how does that even work, man? He's like, you just got to pay somebody. And I'm like, well,
Yeah,
that's,
you see
that's
a
what it
lot of
takes.
ads. You see a lot of
Yeah.
ads from Instagram and Facebook, but I always think, yeah, okay, but do you know our music? I think if you're a rap band or
Mm.
how do you call it, the top 40 band from now, if you do that, you know popular music. They know the way, I think. But do you know the way in death metal, extreme metal land? I don't think so. But maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Can be, but no, never figured it out.
Yeah, and I think the thing too is it's a lot harder to like penetrate into those circles and get into the ears of listeners. People are so picky nowadays and their attention
They
spans are
are.
shorter that it's
No.
like, how are you going to grab them in that first 30 seconds to a minute of a song where they stick around and listen to the whole thing?
Yeah.
Uh, Especially
And
with
maybe
death
the second
metal.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to think about it when you release a song. That's something I learned from Listenable. We first wanted to release another song, and that begins with an acoustic part, and he said, "What?
Okay.
No way." He said, "That acoustic part is 30 seconds. Then they're gone." So okay, then we do another song, and that you have to think about things like that. The first one has to be right on the spot, when it has to be a banger, and
Yeah.
especially in death metal, they're not going to wait for you to put on the beat. It's just good. Wow, we want to enjoy it in 15 seconds. It's the same with a series on Netflix. If the first episode doesn't get you, you're not going to watch the whole series. I think
Yeah.
the same with the music. Yeah, yeah.
So, what is your approach to writing death metal these days? Because I know, it's a genre that's been around for like over 30, 40 years now. And, trying to
Yes.
keep something, how should I put this, sounding like it did in the old days, but also keeping it fresh, like that
Yeah.
balance of songwriting.
Yeah, that's difficult. But the first album, I wrote it more as a tribute to the old bands. So I
Mhm.
listened very carefully from, oh, what did I like in that time? What do I still like from the bands? So I had Pungent Stance, I had Old Sinister, Paradise Lost first album, and I combined the beats and sound of that all those bands. So I had a little but more Punch Stand song and a little Bolt Thrower song, and then all that combined was Graceless. And
Yeah.
in the second album, I didn't think about that anymore. I had the feeling from we have to add something to that sound, so to make it, old school death metal in new age. So a little bit more, but old school death metal is also it is old school death metal. So if you
Yeah.
go to put too modern shit in it, then you're out. Then you're out of the box you put yourself into. So
Yeah.
I'm constantly looking to find, can I put in this? And I'm like, but not too much, and that's how the sound evolves. And in the last two albums, I didn't think of that anymore. I just played what was closest to the heart and what sounded good to everybody. And we
Yeah.
also make more songs than we record, so then we can put them together like a puzzle. And so this fits for the album. The rest we don't record or for a single or split or something else like that. But yeah, it's difficult. But yeah, if you only listen to what you can do like the old bands, then you never come up with something original, nothing on your own. So yeah,
Yeah. Another important aspect of the genre is the guitar tone. Death metal has
yeah.
a very unique tone in there. So, what do you do to kind of craft your tone for Graceless?
No, I started with the time two pedals, of course, but I can
Okay.
do nothing with that. I had two. I had the Japanese version and what's the other, the Korean? I don't know. But I can just play with it. And then it's like every riff I play sounds good because of the pedal.
Mm.
And so I sold them in a few weeks. That's not mine. Okay, so we dropped the Swedish sound, and we're back. I play only with a PV. PV is 5153 now, and Björn has a PV 6505 plus,
Okay.
and it's just this the chord in how do you call that? Yeah, we use nothing, no distortions, nothing, just the dry sound of and that's it,
Oh wow.
and that fits the band. It's and we see the how do you call it, the front of house guys when you do a gig. They
Mhm.
they love that we use that dry sound because they can mix that very easily, and that's our sound. There's
Yeah, I
nothing
can
nothing
imagine.
fancy,
Like,
nothing too much.
yeah,
Yeah, not too much
minimal
distortion,
stuff.
minimal stuff, and they can do easy mix. And we always get compliments about the good live sound, and I think it's
Hmm.
because of that we don't use so much shit. Yeah, and we're too lazy for it too. I have a ton of pedals, and every time we put all the shit up and one doesn't work or the one cable is not good, and
Yeah,
we buy everything, but live we use nothing of all the shit. I think Björn has one reverb in between, and that's all.
for
Yeah, that's
solos.
all. Yeah, for the solos. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And the boost is I think in the PV as well. So just one pedal. That's it.
Man.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting seeing bands that have like full on like pedal boards that
yeah.
take up like half the stage and their axe effects and all this crazy stuff. And you got to think, especially with death metal and thrash, like everything was so minimal back then because they didn't have. It was all
No,
experimentation. They didn't
it
have
is.
all that kind of crazy gear.
Yeah, yeah. Less is more for us, you know.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's good about it, I think, is every festival we play, they always have the 5150 and the 6505. They have that present, you know. It's
Hmm.
the standard in L. So we have not an original sound, but we have always the gear we use back home, and that's a pro, I think.
Yeah. Does it make it easier as far as like touring too? Like you don't have to bring a ton of stuff
Yeah,
with you.
yeah, much easier.
Yeah.
We never bring amps, not even in Holland. You know, yeah. Sometimes if we ask, do you have the amps, and they said, yeah, we have this and that, and I can play this that. Then we take the amp, but for the only guitars and
Wow.
the wireless stuff. So that's very easy. And
Let's talk about the new album. Take me back to when the writing kind of started for the new record.
I think a year ago, I give myself a year for it, and
Yeah,
it
because the
was
last record came out in 2023.
2023. Yeah, then I had all of 2024 writing
Yeah.
it. I think. Yeah, yeah, song by song, of course. Yeah, I do all the songs first by myself. You know, I
Wow.
come with the riffs. I do all the drums digitally. Um, not the breaks, not the thumb fills. You know, only the beats per minute, and if it's a polka or it's double bass, things like that. Then I make a song, and with this, it's just the basic, you know. But it
Hmm.
is the song. It's done from A to C, and then I let it hear to the guys, and then they fill it in, you know.
Oh wow.
And they fill in every song, and we don't decide yet where come the vocals, where come the solo. Everybody does it like he think it has to be done, you know. And in the end, we do the vocals. That's the last thing we add, and then we see. Then we uh, can shift a little.
Yeah.
Sometimes Björn puts a solo there, and that's the chorus, man. You know, oh, I thought it was a nice solo spot. Okay, and then he throws it away. It goes like that, you know. But it was this time much more a band thing than in the past. In the Shadowlands album, the first one, I wrote everything, even the leads, and nowadays it's much more a band album. They did so much more now, and yeah, that sounds better, feels better to me too. So that's how we did it, and we wrote like 16, 15 or 16 songs. We recorded 12, I think, or 11. And
Okay.
there were 10 on the album, something like
Dang.
that. And I think that are the 10 best. But yeah, yeah,
So is
you
it
never
pretty
know.
quick process? Like once you hand it off for them to fill in all their parts, like
Yeah,
is it basically like a demo at that point before you go into
yes,
actually record?
yeah. It's a demo. It's all
Okay.
the drums are already not live drums, of course. And
Yeah.
then everybody has Cubase nowadays. We work with Cubase, and then you
Hmm.
can add your own song, and then we do it in the practice room, you know. And then we can hear from, does it work or doesn't it work? And sometimes we do it online too. Then Björn had a solo. What did you think about this? You know, then I can hear it at home. So okay, it's nice, but a little bit more this or that, you know. But I don't have to adjust so much, you know. They know what they can do, and they always make the song better, you know. And then we only have to see, can we play this, right? Can we bring
Yeah.
this? That's really important. And we have songs, you know. We did so much shit in it, and then we can play this, you know. We can play this on the record, and especially not live. And then it goes. It has to be, yeah. It has to be a live song too, you know. We're a live band, so the song should suit live shows too. But
I
that's
think it's okay to have like a
yeah,
song or two that maybe you
yeah, yeah,
can't
yeah.
play
There
live.
always
It's
have.
just, it's a record song. Why not?
Yeah, yeah. But most of them, yeah, it has to feel good in the practice room as well, you know.
Hmm.
But we always have some Doom songs on it too, you know, with a lot of layers, like 8 guitar layers, and a lot of emotional shit in it. And we mostly don't play that live, you know. That's sometimes it's sad. I would like to do a gig with all the Doom songs we made, you know, all the
Yeah.
slow. But yeah, you have to have a good setting for that, the right venue. You can play that on a festival. I think they expect us to do
Yeah, especially
the
when it's like
other
an eight,
songs.
9 minute song and,
Yeah,
again, it comes down to that attention thing. Like you're gonna lose people
yeah,
real quick unless they know that that's what they're there to see. Like, but with you
especially
guys, they
just
want the death metal.
exactly that. Yeah, that's true.
But I appreciate a good doom song myself personally.
Yeah, me too.
I listen
And
to a
if
lot of that.
and if you have the right audience and you see they get it, and I put some other doom song in it in the set, but we always leave the set open. We have a few parts that then when I have two songs after each other, and then I feel for now this death metal crowd you want to march and they want to attack each other. Then we do the hard one, and I see it's a listening crowd. Sometimes you
Mhm.
have that. Then we do the other song. So then you always have options in the set. So that's nice too, also for us.
Yeah, yeah, especially now having like 4 or 5 records, to choose from. Like you
Yeah,
guys, I'm sure have a ton of stuff to to
yeah,
work in and out of the set.
yeah. That's always difficult. Now too,
Yeah,
we have practiced the new song so much that you want. Oh, you do at least two, no four, and that's we can do five. And yeah, if you play 50 minutes, you do 5 songs. You can only play like one song of all the other records, so it's always
yeah.
hard. So maybe we're gonna shift that during the tour. We'll see. Yeah.
So, as far as the lyrical concepts on the new record, is it still kind of more of what the past records were like, or did you try some different writing on this record?
Yeah, it's difficult. I think for me, making lyrics that's very difficult.
Mm,
I'm not a native speaker at first, and I can I can think of 100 riffs, but I can think of one. I think it's difficult for me to think of one good and original topic.
mm,
It's not my strongest not my strongest point. I wanted to be this record to be more about one topic at first. I was totally into Catholic religion and blah blah blah. Not original, but I was into it, so I thought, make a record about all the evil shit religion does to humans and to the world. And but then
yeah,
I was like 4 songs, and then I thought, well, yeah, I'm done with the topic, and I'm just not gonna make it for another 6 or 7 songs with this. So then I let it loose, and I think I did all kind of shit, and I did uh, lyrics about my own life, but things I experienced, or I did one zombie themed song because I wanted to get an old school vibe at that song, so it suits the
yeah,
song, and so uh, yeah, it's something from everything, it's not yeah, that's how it goes.
yeah,
It's yeah, it goes how it goes, I take it how as it comes. Really.
yeah. I appreciate that level of like, okay, here's some real shit that's going on in the world, but also like I can sprinkle in some personal, lyrics that maybe somebody will interpret different, but to me, it's like I know what this is about, and
Yeah,
having that balance of those two things.
yeah, I like that too, but I can choose to that, I can't make a whole personal record or only about that. I'm
Mhm.
no, that doesn't work for me. So I do whatever comes in my head at that moment, or whatever suits the song. That's
Yeah.
important to me too. Yeah,
So once you have everything written and all the demos are done, now
yeah.
the recording starts. So what does the recording process look like for you guys?
Back in for the first album, it was totally different from now.
Oh, I
We
can
did
imagine.
yeah, we did the most things. We did some of the guitar recording at home, and then we
Mm.
didn't have didn't have the money for a proper studio as well. So we did the drums in the studio, and then the vocals in the studio, and the rest we did all home. And
Wow.
the second time, and the process was totally different because we had on the drummer is doing his shit, and I was guiding him, and the rest was at home. And then we need guitars, and then Björn came in, and then we didn't do it as a band. We did it the second album. They did it the same, and it worked for them.
Mhm.
But in the last album, I wanted to have more like an yeah, like a band feeling. We're a band and we are the best when we're together. And I said, we're gonna lock ourselves up in a proper studio. Nothing fancy, but a good studio with a good producer.
Yeah.
And then we come out when the records is done, and nobody goes home. And we all we all agreed on that. And we rented the studio for just 2 weeks, and the songs were done for 90%. And then we had to add some shit, and we want to change something. We do that there, and we see if it works. And it worked for me. It worked. I think it is the best studio experience we ever had, and we did that back in the days also because we didn't have Cubase at home too. Back in the
Yeah.
'90s, so when we started out, it was like that, and I always liked that. To be 2 or sometimes 3 weeks costs a lot of money, but I like that. And nowadays, everybody sits home, and it's a lonely way of recording. So this
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
this,
It's
for me. Yeah, it was great, and we had all the same feeling when we drove back home, and we had to, we had the product in our hands, and so this is it. We did it in 2 fucking weeks, and yeah, it was great, and we already said we're gonna book we're gonna book it for in 2 years again. This is exactly how we want to do it again. So I think Jörg from Sound Lodge can see us back very soon, very soon after we have some new songs, of course.
Yeah, and I think the thing with death metal is you don't need a ton of production into that. So
Yeah.
when you guys are in there and like everything's recorded, like how far do you go with like layering guitars and that kind of level of like production once it's done?
Yeah, I had all the different parts. We have all Björn written it all out, so we knew exactly what to do.
Mhm.
But not every song has a lot of layers. Some just two. And we played every guitar 2 times. So we doubled the rhythms 2 times on the left, 2 times on the right, 2 times Björn, 2 times me, and on top of that the solos. That's it. But only the Doom solos you have more separate parts. But
Yeah.
that's just like 2 or 3 songs, I think, and they cost us a lot of time. But the normal songs we that were just and they were on very fast. Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, it seems like 2 weeks. That's a really quick turnaround to get it in and out and done.
Yeah, yeah. The Mark was done in I think in 2 days. The drummer,
Wow.
So then we had 8 days for only guitars and bass and vocals. So everybody had 2 days. Yeah, was okay. I think so. We just made it, or because I don't think we can do that again in that time. I would recommend 2 extra days at least, but we did it. And it sounds so good. And what's also important is that you have a producer who knows what he's doing, and yeah, he really. Yeah, he didn't let us play every part like 100 times. He
Yeah.
said, this is fine. I can work with this up next riff or next song. That's good for us. Someone who puts the gas on it. Yeah, and a fair experience. He was very fast at editing, and he had good ideas about sound, and that kind of shit. Yeah, and we need that. We don't. We are experienced musicians, but not
Mm.
experienced studio musicians, and that's a whole different thing.
Yeah,
So
that's
I'm glad.
important. Somebody can like pick up
Yeah,
on what you guys are trying to do and like help
exactly.
get it to where you guys are comfortable with it.
Yeah, and he's a drummer in the Temple of the Dread from
Oh, cool.
Germany. Yeah, yeah. So he knows the type of music we play, and he likes it, and that's really important. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Was it
Yeah, one
yeah.
thing we talked about earlier was, that first impression of a song. So I'm pretty sure it's the first single you put out. I could be wrong. Sanctified Slaughter, was that the first
Yeah,
one or was that the second one?
second one. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
the second one. Well, the second single you guys put out, man, that thing is it's probably the heaviest song you guys have done. I mean, the
I think so too.
guitar
Yeah,
on that is crushing and
yeah,
no solos. It's just all rhythm and you got this nice little like Morbid Angel-esque kind of like breakdown transition near the end that I love in that song. So,
yeah. Thank you.
what was the
Yeah.
choice for going with that song for the single?
I, the funny thing is, I wrote that begin riff.
Mhm.
I I was sleeping, I think, and I woke up. I couldn't sleep, and I had it in my head. What the fuck? I have to record it. What was 4:30 or so in the morning, and shit, I get Cubase on, and the headphones on, and I played it. It's fucking simple, but it rocks. And
It
then my
does.
wife came. He said, "What the fuck are you doing?" He said, "I have my headphones on." Yeah, I had the sound on too. So yeah, so I have always a funny feeling by the first riff, but from that riff on, I recorded the whole song. I think in 2 days. Oh yeah, that's that, and then it was not a whole idea. It was just a sort of natural process of riffs that suit so well together.
Yeah.
And I think yeah, you can hear that in the song. And I think that's when you decide if you do a good recording of the song, that's going to be a single, and it was. But uh, up front, when you have all the songs, everybody has another one he likes most, and the bass player said that's going to be the single, and the drummer said no, it's going to be that one. And in the end, when you recorded it, some songs are so much better than you thought they're going to be, and then
Mhm.
everything changes, and it was with this too. So I think we had three totally different singles uh, before we recorded it, and after it we had those three. So there's one coming up in 1 or 2 weeks, and then the album comes. So
Yeah, I think
yeah,
it's this is another thing that happens a lot, where you see bands put out like almost half of the album before, in singles before the full album releases, and by that
yeah,
point it's like, well, I've already heard these songs a bunch,
yeah,
what
yeah.
am I really going to listen to the whole album now? And I think people don't like they do that. They just don't listen to the
They,
whole album because they've heard the singles,
yeah,
which is unfortunate. So I think that slow, like one, two, three
yeah.
songs
Max
is
max
that's
three.
enough.
It's, I think so too. Especially if you only have 10 songs. If you give away half the album, then nobody has to buy it anymore. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me it was also maximal 2 songs, 2 3. Yeah, it's gonna be three.
Yeah, it's a good if anybody listening to this has not heard of Graceless yet or checked out this new song, seriously go do it. It's probably one of the best death metal releases this year. Not to
I
wax
hope
your
so.
card too much here. But it caught my attention immediately when that single dropped. I was like, "Ooh, yeah, I got to check this out." And I was hanging out with my friend here, and he had never heard of you guys, and he was like,
Yeah,
"What the fuck is this? This is heavy as shit." And I was like, "Yeah, dude, this is probably the heaviest thing they've done." And it was just like,
it
you
is. It
know,
is. Yeah. Oh,
going
cool.
at it.
Yeah, yeah. Good to hear. It's yeah, great.
So two more things, and then we'll
Yeah.
kind of wrap up here. I always
Okay.
like to talk about the album art. I think that's a very important piece of the puzzle with the
Yeah.
record. How do you go about choosing the artist, and what is your like concept that you give them to kind of fill that in to make it for you?
Now we had 4 songs about religion, of course, and then we looked a little bit at the art for religions, and what we all liked was what they have in the windows in the Catholic Church. That oil and lead. How do you call it? They make a sort of glass
Yeah, like
windows with
stained glass.
stained glass. That's it.
Yeah.
Yes. So we wanted someone who can do that. And Laurent, from Listenable Records, he said, "I know the perfect guy. I worked with him before, and he can do a lot of things." So we contacted him a few times, and in the end, he came back at us. We say, "Oh, this is our idea. We want this, and you can do whatever you want, but it has to be stained glass, and it has to be something with death metal and religion." Uh, um, and he was thinking about it first, I think. And then he said, "I think I can do this. I'm gonna make some sketches and I send it to you, and then you have to decide, do you like it or not?" And he did, and I think we did not change so much about the sketches, but it was a whole painting that he made, and that he filled it up
Wow.
with little details, much more details, and it go on, and every month he gave us an update. So it took a while, and we were one day late with giving the the final result to the record company, and that's why the yeah. Otherwise, it was the 1st of April the record would come out, and now it's the last day
Oh
of
no.
May. So we missed 2 months because of that. But fuck it, it was worth waiting for. It's nice. It's a little bit different than most bands, I think, in our
Yeah.
genre. So yeah,
It's I
I
mean it's
like
way
it.
different from your past,
Yeah,
three
I,
covers too, so
yeah, we wanted that because we did 3 records at Roscoe Records, and thought for us it's new. Yeah, it's a new beginning, or
mhm.
fresh start with a fresh record company. So there has to be a fresh sound and a fresh artwork. That's
Yeah.
what we did. Yeah.
All right, and the final thing here, I see your guitars and your bass on the wall. Are those ones you use? Is that like your practice guitars or recording guitars, or what do you use in your
No,
daily?
the most things I use is this, the most simple one. It's
Okay,
cheap as Ibanez, but it's yeah, it's always in tune, and it's easy to use. But the pointy guitars, I have a desk here, so I break them. So I have only Les Paul models. Yeah, they're all gone. But every time there are different guitars. Some I have a different favorite one also. It's every time, but for a recording at home, always the Les Paul Ibanez. Yeah.
nice. Okay, yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, you must have a lot of guitars. As far as people following the band and getting the record, where can people do that? People that are listening, watching, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, I'll link to it, but
Yeah.
for now,
Yeah, Bandcamp. I think. Oh, I don't know songs on Bandcamp anymore. Now Bandcamp through Listenable, of course, and YouTube and live, of course.
yeah.
Go see us live. Yeah, we're gonna be on tour in December, I think, and we do some loose shows all over Europe. So yeah, meet us live. That's the nicest one. And Spotify, of course. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Actually, that brings up another thing, actually, I'll ask real
yeah.
quick. With all the political shit going on in the world, how hard is it going to be for you guys to ever try and tour the States? I mean, it
Yeah,
seems
it
like
is.
it's going to be aggressively hard to get over here now, and
Yeah,
vice
yeah,
versa,
yeah,
like for us.
yeah, yeah. You feel that, and that's really a shame. That's so. Yeah, yeah. I know it because I have another band, Soulburn, and we go to was it Chicago in somewhere in September, and we
Yep.
all have to go to the American consulate, and we have to tell what we're going to do in Chicago. It's just for one day, for one. And
Wow.
then they gonna guess out a visa for one day or a working visa. I don't know how that is called. And then we hear if you can go to Chicago, and it's the same for touring. You have to go to the consulate first. So yeah,
Man.
we'll see what it brings. We did that 70,000 tons last
Yeah.
year with Graceless, but that was easy because you're in Florida and you say, "Are you going to play here?" No, we're going to play in the cruise ship. Okay, international waters, and you go right past it. That was good, but I don't know how it goes when you go on American soil. We'll see.
Yeah.
I hope to play there, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be great. I know it's frustrating when like you want to have live music over here from bands that are not from this country, and it's just
Of
now
course,
it's
yeah.
getting
Likewise, yeah.
harder and harharder. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope it's temporary. All of that, it's
Yeah.
not a, it's yeah, it's not a good thing. But yeah, we all can agree on
So
that.
yeah, I mean, who knows?
Yeah,
So the record comes out on the 25th of May,
I
is
think
that
the
correct?
30th. Yeah,
30th.
May
Okay,
May 30th. Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
So the end of the month,
yeah. We
just
finally have the thing in our hands. Icons of Ruin.
go check it out. Go follow Graceless. Uh, Remco, man, thank you so much for doing this. I really
Thank
appreciate your
you.
time. Seriously, I'm glad we
Of
got
course.
to make this happen.
Yeah, you did. Thank you for your interest in Graces.